Welcome back to another class in the Aging Tapestry classroom. I am truly grateful you're here and excited to continue exploring the theories, the lived experiences, and just creating a space to humanize the aging process altogether. All fire stick is if we catch again. How many of you have heard that before or heard phrases like, all habits die hard? What you grow up doing, you grow old doing. I believe that these sayings capture something important, and that's exactly what continuity theory is about. As people age, they don't suddenly become someone new. Instead, they stay connected to who they've always been. And I believe that this is not resistance to change, it's continuity. Now, I want you to think for a moment. Do you have a parent or grandparent or family member who insists on using the same favorite mug, even if it's cracked or super old? Or who always sits in the same spot in church? Maybe listens to the same radio station or watches the same TV show. If any of those scenarios sound familiar, let me know in the comments below. But have you ever wondered why they do that? Why do these routines become so ingrained? Well, today we're going to explore the powerful reasons behind it. At its core, continuity theory, which was primarily developed by Robert Ashley in 1989, tells us that as people grow older, they actively try to preserve their sense of self. And they do this by maintaining two key things. First, their internal structures. And these are the deeply personal aspects like their values, their core personality traits, and their beliefs. And second, their external structures. And these are the more visible parts of their lives, such as their roles in their family or community, their relationships, and their familiar environments. Think of it in this way. Their past becomes like a compass, a guiding light that helps them navigate all the changes that come with life and aging. Therefore, we can say that aging isn't about becoming a new, unrecognizable person, but it's more about growing deeper roots in the person that they've always been. Before diving deeper, let's look at how this theory compares to the ones we've already discussed, where it aligns and where it differs. There's the activity theory, which proposes that the key to aging well is staying busy and active. And there's the disengagement theory, which suggests that naturally pulling away from social roles as they age is normal. But continuity theory offers a different, nuanced perspective. It's less about pulling away or staying busy just for the sake of it, but it's more about doing what they've always done in a way that feels right for them. And it's about making changes that still feel authentic, that still feel like who they really are. Let's really bring this theory to life with some compelling real examples. We'll see how continuity theory plays out in different ways in people's lives. During my internship at Aged Care Walden, which is a long-term care facility in Calgary for some people living with dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, etc. So I had the privilege of working closely with this elderly lady from Italy. Every single day, without fail, she would wear this vibrant red lipstick. Her hair would be combed perfectly, and she would always hold tightly to her Bible. This wasn't just a habit. Even as her memory began to fade, the beautiful routines, I consider them to be beautiful. The routines, the rituals, they never left her. And this is a powerful example of external continuity, the consistent rituals she kept. And it reflected a profound internal continuity, her dignity, her deep spirituality, and her unwavering sense of self. Now, just imagine, what if she ended up in a hospital or a long term care facility where nobody understood why that red lipstick mattered so much? To an outsider, it might seem like vanity, but for her, it wasn't just about looking good. It was her identity, her grounding, even a form of medicine that kept her connected to herself. On the other hand, during my internship at the Barbados Psychiatric Hospital, I had a client who was a retired correctional officer. He was so used to being in control, commanding respect. But when dementia began to set in, he still believed he was the one in charge, not just of himself, but of his wife's care. However, because of his memory issues, he would genuinely believe he had bathed her or fed her when in fact he had not. So his family eventually realized that their mother's health was getting worse. She had become bedridden and neglected. When they tried to intervene, acknowledging his dementia was impeding his ability to care for her, he strongly resisted. He didn't want them to help his wife. He wanted to be the one in control. This in itself is still continuity, but it's a form of maladaptive continuity. What was once a strength and a professional necessity, this power and need for control, became a significant and dangerous barrier in his later life, leading to distress not only for himself but for his family. And in the traditional sense of things, it wasn't his fault, as his memory made it impossible for him to recognize the reality of the situation. So, here's a critical question, something to think about. How do we honor someone's deep-seated identity and need for continuity while also ensuring the safety and well-being of everyone involved, especially when cognitive decline complicates their perception? I remember this being a complicated situation, but understanding the continuity theory gave me a valuable lens where I approached it in a way that was more empathetic and less frustrating. And lastly, I want to share another story that really struck with me from a recent dementia care meeting. And that story really highlights how crucial this concept is in everyday life. A woman in the group shared her story about her husband. He had always been the one to manage their finances, the bills, the accounts, the budgeting, like everything. Like this was his thing. But now, due to his dementia, he simply couldn't do it anymore, at least not correctly or safely. Yet, he still wanted to be involved. He still wanted to ask about the bills. He still wants to look over the paperwork. And the wife was really torn. She didn't know what to do. Should she tell him no? Should she hide the finances to avoid confusion or mistakes? Then the facilitator said something I'll never forget. She said, "You can still involve him. Give him the checkbook. Show him the documents. Ask for his opinion. Let him look things over, even if you don't follow what he says. What matters most is that he feels involved and respected." This advice is a perfect example of adaptive continuity in action. It honors his identity as the family's financial decision maker, even though his brain cannot manage the intricate details anymore. This man, he doesn't need control over the numbers. He just needs that recognition of his past role and his enduring worth. He needs to feel like, I still matter. My voice is still heard. And with these powerful stories, we can truly see how continuity theory plays out in real life, in both adaptive and sometimes maladaptive ways. This foundation is so important as we think about how we support older adults. Because of time, in our next video, part 2, we're going to dive in deeper into specific real world applications, debunk some common myths about aging, and discuss practical strategies for care, especially those living with dementia. And you don't want to miss that. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might benefit, and make sure you've subscribed so you don't miss part 2. Thank you so much for being part of the Aging Tapestry classroom, and I'll see you in the next class.